We're now coming much closer to the conclusion of Bרכת המזון. We spoke last time about Oiseh Shalom B'mreimo v'Yaseh Shalom Aleinu v'Al Kol Yisrael v'Imru Amen. And then comes these few psukim, Yira's Hashem, Kfirim Rashu, Haidu Nar Hayisi. That's sort of like the epilogue, the after of Bרכת המזון that are printed in all the Sidurim today. That's most of us have the minhag to finish Bרכת המזון with. Now, interestingly enough, and in this share we're not going to go into the exact types of the words, but when it's brought in the Machzavitri to say Yira's Hashem Kedesha, which he does not bring all the psukim, he just brings Yira's Hashem Kedesha, then the Bayer Pri Hagafen, he says we say it belachash. He says these psukim, this psuk of Yira's Hashem is recited quietly. So you see already that this is already from the time of the earlier Rishonim. We have these nusach, not all the psukim, but at least the idea of saying the psukim. The Ri Ben Yakar, a Rishon, also doesn't bring Yira's Hashem, interestingly enough, but he does bring kfirim rashu v're'evu. Now, loosely translated, we'll go into detail next time. Yira's Hashem Kedosha, right? Those who fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not be lacking. Kfirim rashu v're'evu, v'dersha Hashem lo yachzu chaltei. Once again, if you're derish Hashem, you will not be lacking. So why do we say these psukim quietly? Why did the Rishonim say that these psukim at the end of Bרכת המזון are recited quietly? So we do know that we finish Oiseh Shalom with the Imru Amen. Now usually when we say Amen to our own tefillah, that's because it's a seif of a brachas. It's an ending. Like we have between the third bracha of Uvnei Yerushalayim and Bרכת and the fourth bracha, we say Amen to show that one some of bracha deraisa, some of bracha derabanan. We say it in the Bרכת Kriyishma. There's times when we have an Amen. Chazal say it's to show a divide. So we see that there was a divide over here. We said Amen. So the Ri Ben Yakar says that the reason why we say this quietly is because to show that these end psukim are not the matbeya shetavu by chacham. Which means it's not the Ikei Bרכת המזון, it's not the language that you're going to find in Chazal of Bרכת המזון. Rather, these psukim were added later. Now that's a very interesting point, because most people would have said that the Ikei Bרכת המזון finished at Al Yichasreinu, and the entire Harachimons, which we saw earlier on, is, some Rishonim even use the terminology that Ishkir Tzonei, which means that everyone can write their own Harachimon, that the Harachimons are not Matbei Shtav Bechacham. But obviously they felt the Harachimons was dated earlier enough that, relatively speaking, that was already the Matbei Shtav Bechacham, that was already the Nusach of the Chazal, but these psukim were not, and therefore to differentiate, we say them quietly. But I saw brought down a second reason to say these psukim quietly. Very interesting reason. It says that as someone says that we say it quietly, because in case there's any aniyim, in case there's any poor people sitting at the table, you're going to embarrass them. Because these psukim say that those people who are derish Hashem, those people who have trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they will never be lacking food. So if you have an ani by the table who came to eat by you because he needed food, and you say that anyone who has Yiras Shemayim won't be lacking, so what are you doing? This person is lacking food. Are you announcing he's not a Yiras Shemayim? You're going to embarrass him. And therefore, some bring the reason why we say it quietly, so brought down, is not to embarrass those who don't have. Interestingly enough, the story is told that back in the day in Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnefeld, there was times when his house was very lacking. We know during the Ottomans, there was anius, there was terrible poverty. And the story is brought that one time his wife came into the room and told Rabbi Yosef Chaim, we don't have food to serve the children. So what did Rabbi Yosef Chaim do? It says he took out Pasach Sefer HaKadosh Mesil Sisharim. Kamil Rabinovich brings a story. He says, what did Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnefeld do? He sat down with his rabbits and he said, let's learn Mesil Sisharim. What do you mean there's no food in the house? But no. He says, Umei Ozla Hesif Oidl David B'Dav HaMazonis V'Henei Nadvar Ki Aidei Limud Sefer Zeh Efshel Zakas Yiras Hashem Shebekeichel Ashpir Parnasa. Yosef Chaim Sonnefeld said, we want Parnasa in the house. There's one way to get Parnasa, is to increase our Yiras Shemayim. And therefore, to get food, there's two ways to do it. One is to run around to get money. One is to increase Yiras Shemayim. Yosef Chaim said, as long as we increase the Yiras Shemayim, it will happen by itself. So we see over here, very interestingly, these psukim, which were added at some point later, Like I said, the different ones are brought in different siddur. In the Sidari from the 1500s, if you look there, you're not going to see it. He brings benching there. Call yourself room main for Shalom. Go straight to Bרכת. So obviously, some of the Rishonim had some of these psukim. Other Rishonim had other of these psukim. In the future, we will discuss some of the meanings of these psukim. But to understand that these psukim are whispered because they show us that it's not the main part, also not to embarrass someone who doesn't have food. Because these psukim talk about the fact that anyone who has Yiras Shamayim will not be lacking food.